do you notice when you go to some weddings, you just know without a doubt that God is present at the wedding? And you know, some weddings, it's a setup for the party and you can't wait to get to the reception. I said, you might think that's kind of coincidence or by accident. I said, but do you know what sets up a godly wedding or just a party wedding? And the answer is you two. I said, by the way you behave between now and the wedding, you can't go backwards, but the way you behave between now and then, very simply invites God to be present or sort of puts God in the back room. And I said, and so a couple basic questions. Are you living together? And are you sexually active? I said that might seem kind of blunt, but what I'm trying to do is to get you to understand that, you know, there's a reason the church has taught for the longest time to follow the commandments and not to be sexually active. And a lot of people feel like, you know, we never were before, or we were before, but now we're engaged, it seems different. And I said, the church has never wavered from the commandment. And I've learned a couple of stories, but my goal is to invite you to understand that there's a better way to invite more God into this relationship. Because to be honest, marriage is going to chew you guys up and spit you out. There's nobody ever gets married that understands how much work it is, but how much blessing it is. But I'm never going to tell you that because you might be living together or you're sexually active, I'm never going to tell you you can't get married in this church. I said, Jesus always went to people that needed him the most. I said, but I'm going to challenge you to say there's a better way to do this and there's a better way to get more God in your life now. So a couple of stories that really helped me understand from my own personal experience. I'm a kind of a new priest and I'm sitting in Aberdeen and I got a phone call. This gal said, Father, I really have to see you. Didn't know her and didn't know why she came. And she sat down and she sat right where you guys are. She said, Father, I'm getting married in 6 months. How do you know it's the kind of love that's going to last forever? I said, well, what would you say to your friends? You guys seem to be pretty well, and how do you know you're my good? How do you know? And I thought, well, I did the same thing I'm going to do with you guys. What kind of background? What kind of families? Has there been abuse? Has there been alcohol? All sorts of things, and on and on and on and on. And I said, when I talked to her, everything seemed kind of normal. Then I thought, well, she's in church asking me questions about how and why and what. So I said, are you guys living together and are you sexually active? Now, he wasn't there. So I'm just talking to her, and she said, well, yeah, we're living together. And I said, are you sexually active? She said, yeah. And I said, well, how long? How early in the relationship? Well, she was about 28 or 30, and pretty early. And I said, well, okay. And I said, and I thought, you know, and I think it was a God thing, that I said, I think I could help you probably within 5 minutes for you to figure out whether this is the real deal or not. And people smile just like you're saying, you got to be kidding. That's going to take a lot of prayer and a lot of guts. I said, how about you really pray about it and you go home and tell your fiance that I really need more certainty. And the way to be more certain about forever, because that's a tough word, forever, and how to be more certain that it's God is to follow the commandments. And to follow commandments means not to be sexually active. So when you pray about it and you go ask your little buddy, could we wait until the wedding to be sexually active? Now, there's really 3 options that are going to happen when you tell him that. I said the first option that some guys, not a guy like you because you're a pretty decent Christian, you wouldn't be here, some guys are going to say, are you serious? And he's going to very simply say, if I can't get it here, I'm going to get it some other place and he's going to be gone. And that's a good thing to know before the wedding because you are going to marry a boy. Don't marry a boy. There's a lot of boys out there. Don't marry a boy. Second option is, some guys are going to say, I don't get it. I'm certain forever's a good deal. But if that's what somebody I really love needs, then yeah, let's do that. And I said, you're going to marry a man. But plan option 3 is, it's called manipulation. Option 3 is, he's going to say, honey, you're so right. I love God. I love Jesus, whatever all that means. And then about a month from now, you're just going to be hugging and cuddling and kissing. And all of a sudden, you got no clothes on and you're having sex again. So he said what you wanted to hear, but he got what he wanted. I said, that's also marrying a boy. So, well, the rest of the story is I saw her about a month later, and she said, do you remember me, Father? And I said, yeah. I said, well, how's it going? And she got a bit of a tear. She said, I prayed hard a lot about it, and I told him, and she said, something women understand better than guys. She said, Father, nothing changed, but everything changed. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, we're still together, but he just didn't want to be around me as much. And she said, the gal told me, she said, I was never sure after that if he loved me or he loved what I could give him. And she got a bigger tear and she said, we're not together anymore. And she said, I hope, I pray that I can do it different next time. So there's just something about you need to know you're loved because you're lovable. And I'm not saying that's why you guys are having sex, but it's a good thing to think about. Second option, I'm doing a marriage prep, very active Catholic gal and a Lutheran guy, both very churched and traditional families and nice people. And about 4 months before the wedding, I found out that they're living together. So I asked them at one of my preparations, I knew him well, and I said, where is on the street you're living together? Yeah, how come? Well, what's a money thing? I said, no problem. I said, I got an extra room where I live. I told the guy, I said, for $50, you can live in my place and you could work off your $50 by mowing the lawn and shoveling snow. Well, he didn't take me up on it. And I said, I know you guys are broke. I'll make you a deal. I said, I'm going to write a check today for $1,000 in my name. I'm going to date it the day after the wedding. And I'm going to give you that $1,000 if you do 5 things and you cannot say, without a doubt, it radically improved our relationship. And the 5 things are, 1, go to church regularly. Learn about each other's faith, and learn to pray together. And don't be sexually active. And don't do me this Bill Clinton, what is. You know what sex is and you know what isn't. And I said, if you don't know, I'll tell you later. Just do it right, and I guarantee it's going to radically improve your relationship. Well, they're both licking their lips thinking $1,000. It's great, this guy doesn't know nothing. I had the wedding, I didn't say a thing. Nothing. It seemed nice. It was a month later, I'm at a grocery store at Aberdeen, and she comes running at me with her cart, and I thought, I'm going to get beat up in a grocery store. She was just giving me this, and she said, do you remember that day that you challenged us about living together and being sexually active? I said, of course I do. She said, I was so mad at you. That's like none of your business. That's none of your business, Father. I said, I've thought about that a lot. I said, it is my business because I've got one job as a Catholic priest, and it's about souls. I said, you imagine working with a priest in marriage prep and he never asked you the state of your soul. What kind of guy is that? Or fast forward 15 years, or you got a 15-year-old daughter, honey, and she's dating who you know who, and you're pretty sure they're doing you know what. And she announces to you, Mommy, you can never ask me what I'm doing physically or sexually. What would you say to your daughter who said it's none of your business? Well, she said, you darn right it's my business. I said, well, it is because I love you and I want you to get to heaven. So I said, well, tell me what happened. She said, Father, we were going to do every single thing you said. And then she got really quiet. And she said, Father, keep your $1,000 and keep telling people. We had no idea how farther we could go in love with God by doing that. Well, the third story I tell people, it's a kind of a silly thing, but it's the truth. I'm at a discipleship camp a long time ago at Lake Ponset, 150 teenagers. And I've been with them all the time, and I worked at a Newman Center, and I taught at Ron College, so I've been around a lot of young people. And I said at breakfast, we were going to finish at noon after 1 o'clock on Sunday at breakfast, I said, here's a little sheet of paper. You guys can ask me any question about anything. I promise I'll answer it. Now, a lot of people would say that's about the stupidest thing a human being can do. But I taught enough, I've been around kids, and I said, and I knew I could write all the questions, and about half of them were about sex. Essentially, why can't we do anything with anybody, anytime, all these old people rules? So I thought to myself, how do I answer? If I say because the church says so, that's not going to fly. If I say because I said so. So I got inspired, and I said, so I answered a few of the questions, why can't women be priests, and why can't guys in marriage, and all. I said, and I read all the questions on sex. And essentially, why not? Why stupid rules? And I said, now this is only going to work if you people are honest. I said, now all of you people that know something about, I gave in too early, I had sex to keep a guy. I thought as a guy, if I had sex, I'd be cool. Or, oh my gosh, we had sex, I missed my period, I thought I was late. Or I got pregnant, or I had an abortion. If you know anything about that, or you know friends that have gone through that, and the pain of doing it wrong, in the wrong time, I beg you people that know that experience to stand up. To my surprise, half the group stood up. I said, now those of you that are wonder why there's any rules on why, it's because we love you. And those of you that are wonder why, you go ask one of your friends that are standing up. And I'll bet you their answer is a lot more convincing than mine. So now I look at all 3 of those stories that are my own experience. I beg you guys to really think about what do we want on our wedding day? And what do we want from here to the wedding? I said, go to confession. You can always repent. There's a great thing called secondary virginity. I said, I want the most awesome wedding for you. And I said, you don't know what's coming. So when you think about it and pray about it, I said, I'm going to tell you, every time you come into my office, my first 2 questions are going to be, are you going to church every weekend? And are you behaving yourself? But always remember, I said, the bottom line is, you can always come back. I'm always going to love you. Because I think that's the way Jesus did. I don't think he ever condemned anybody because they were not doing it right, they were sinners, but he invited them. And I would hope you'd think of those questions, those stories, and say, you know, we know, back in the back of our mind, we know, you know what you're doing is not right. And when you do it God's way, God's blessing is so awesome. When you come to your wedding day, you can be so proud. And the people are going to feel the presence of God. That's what you can do. And that's the gift you can give to everybody there. And that's going to change lives.